sitting here with Ori. We just finished reading our poem, and I'm here to read you chapter 14. Okay. That was the last time I saw that particular friend. When I woke up, I was back in my own bed. It was funny. I got up and shook and trotted through the hall, sniffing to see if I could smell him anywhere, but I could not. He was gone. It was confusing, but there were still a lot of people to greet me and pet me and call me a good boy as I wandered through my home. This didn't mean, though, that everything was normal, because I still slept out in the yard. And the next day, Tyler came to get me in the morning for another run. Running was the best. Today, there was a squirrel to chase up a tree, and 2 trash cans to sniff, and several new friends to greet. Cute dog, they'd say. Can I pet him? Can my kids say hi? We'd stop so I could sniff a few hands and lick new faces, and then we're off again, moving fast with the wind in my nose and the freshness of new smells greeting me with every step. That day, we did something more exciting than usual. After jogging along a paved street for a while, Tyler turned a corner and we were on a dirt road. Dirt. I love running on dirt. It felt soft to my paws and it smelled so much better than the hard black surface that cars roll on. And then Tyler took off my leash. Fantastic! I could race ahead and come back to him, or dash off to investigate clumps of grass, or chase grasshoppers, or grab sticks. This was the best run we'd ever been on. Crows flew overhead, and I barked to let them know that we were running, and they could come with us if they liked, but they didn't pay attention. There were giant dogs in the field next to the road with black and white splotches all over their bodies. Mostly they ignored us, but I barked at them too, just because. A warm breeze rushed past us, lifting my ears a little, ruffling my fur. My ears perked up. I lifted my nose high and sniffed with all my might. That breeze had brought a familiar scent with it. Tyler was a few feet behind me, and he was starting to breathe in big gasps. Okay, Toby. Time to head home? I heard him say my name, but I didn't turn back to him. That scent. It had been a long time since I'd smelled it. It was telling me something just ahead. Toby, Tyler said, but he didn't say come, so I knew we weren't doing training. We were just running, so I ran. Toby, no, where are you going? Tyler yelled. But I was far ahead of him now. The smell grew stronger with every step. I recognized it. It was chickens, and the big dogs who let people ride on their backs. It was dirt and grass and growing things. It was my first home, the ranch, and I was there. Tyler was far enough back on the road that he could not stop me from wiggling under the rail of a fence and running across a lawn. A man was pushing a noisy machine against the grass, but I didn't stop to greet him. The best scent was all in my nose. Sadie, my mother. There she was, lying in the sun behind the house, with a braided rope in her mouth. Her head jerked up as I came tearing through the grass, and she jumped to her feet. I tumbled into her, my tail wagging so hard it nearly toppled me over. She sniffed me as eagerly as I sniffed her, and I was so happy I had to do something with my feelings. I leaped on the rope, grabbed it between my teeth, and shook it hard. Sadie was as happy as I was. I could tell because she snatched the rope too. And we had a great game of tug until she pulled too hard and I rolled over and over in the grass. Well, said the man who had been pushing the machine, where'd you come from, huh? He left the machine and was standing watching us play. Now he held out a hand and I trotted up to him. I knew this smell and his hands and the soft shirt he had on, with the scent of sweat and dirt and grass. Walt. Wow, I think you're one of mine, Walt said, petting me. Glad to be home, huh? Let me see your collar. He tugged gently at the metal tags. Toby? Really? You're Toby? I licked him for saying my name and for being Walt, and for being there. I was so happy to see my mother again. She came and licked him too, and then someone else called my name. Toby! Sorry, he got away from me. Tyler climbed over the fence that I had crawled under and jogged up to us, breathing hard. This your dog? No, this is Toby, Tyler said, holding out his hand to me. When I trotted over to lick him too, to show that I was happy he had joined the reunion, he snapped my leash on my collar. That didn't seem quite fair. How was I supposed to play with my mother now? He lives at the assisted living place, but I take him for a run sometimes. Assisted living? You ran all that way, 6 miles? With Toby? I can hardly believe it. Once that little guy wouldn't run to save his life. Yeah, I guess you don't know it, but he was born here. That's Sadie, his mother. No wonder he came tearing in here like a rocket. No kidding, Tyler said, and pet my mother, who greeted him happily, then came back to sniff me more. Toby, that's why you took off like that. I was worried I was going to lose you. Well, he's a fine-looking dog now. I never would have guessed he'd grow up like that. And he's still at that assisted living place, working there. Tyler nodded. Good, Walt said. He's got a purpose then. All dogs need a purpose. They need a job to do. And he ran 6 miles. You two want to ride back? I can take you in the truck. Tyler shook his head. No, thanks. We'll get back. I have to stick with it or I'm not going to get better. And I have to get better. Soon. Suddenly he sounded sad. What a strange time to be sad. Then I licked my mother's nose and the toe of Walt's shoe. Well, good for you, Walt said, but I'll get you something to drink before you go, and some water for Toby. Walt gave me a delicious bowl of cold water. Fabulous. He handed Tyler something yellow and sweet-smelling in the glass. Since people don't like to drink out of bowls, I don't know why. Tyler guzzled down his drink almost as fast as I drank my water. Then he said goodbye to Walt, and I said goodbye to my mother Sadie, and we started running again. Slower than before, but steadily heading home. I thought about Sadie, my mother, as I trotted by Tyler's side. Sadie belonged to Walt. She had stayed there with him even when my brothers and sisters and I had all left. Now I was leaving again with Tyler. Maybe I belonged to Tyler after all, but I still wasn't sure about that. I hoped one day I would find out. After that, Tyler and I ran together most days. I always got excited to see him in the mornings when he was wearing his white shoes that smelled of rubber and tar and dirt from the street and sweat from his feet. Such a delicious odor. I couldn't understand why he didn't wear those shoes all the time. When I smelled those shoes on his feet, it usually meant we were going to run to the ranch. Sadie and I would sniff each other and play chase and wrestle, and it's my stick and you can't have it, and Tyler and Walt would watch us and laugh. Then Tyler would drink that glass of sweet yellow stuff and we'd run back. One day, to my surprise, we ran past the ranch. I stopped and whined, reminding Tyler of the way we're supposed to go. That day, Tyler kept my leash on and he pulled at me, insisting we go his way. What were we doing? Wait and see, Toby, he told me, and we ran longer than we had ever before. Finally, we turned around and then went to the ranch so that my mother and I could play at last. When we returned to my home after these runs, I was always tired and ready for a big drink and a good nap. Tyler would hand the leash to Mona, and she'd usually take me to rest on a bed with one of my friends. Lie still, she'd say. Lie still. Sometimes I wonder if she'd forgotten that my name was Toby and decided to call me Lie Still instead. Tyler came to visit other times too, but not in the morning for our runs. One afternoon, Mona saw him come in the front door. She had me on a leash, and she and I went up to greet him. I sniffed his shoes, but they were not the admirably smelly ones he wore when he ran. I was still glad to see him, so I jumped up and put my paws on his knees to tell him, Are you going to visit your grandfather? Could Toby practice lie still with him? I'm sure he'd love that, Tyler said, scratching behind my ears. I knew the word love, but it was funny how sad Tyler's voice sounded when he said, Love was not a sad word. Okay, come on, Toby, Mona said. Come with us. I knew come, so I followed down the hall to Granddad's room. I was so happy to see him, so I leapt up on the bed and put my paws on the book he was reading so I could lick his chin. No, Toby, Mona said. Lie still. That again? I sat down and wagged my tail, looking at her hopefully to see if this would please her. She was standing next to Tyler. She sighed. That morning, Tyler and I had been on a good long run, and I'd had a marvelous game of You Can't Catch Me with my mother. Whenever I saw Tyler, I thought about running to the ranch, and that made me think of taking a nap. I'd taken a nap next to Dorothy after our run this morning. When I woke up, Mona had told me, Good dog, Toby. Good, lie still. My dogs are not lying still. Look at this. They're playing. Well, it seemed like it made Mona happy. So I'll just lay here, lie still. Maybe, even though I'm not tired, I'll pretend to take a nap. Maybe that would make her happy. I curled up next to Granddad's side. The warmth of his body felt good next to mine. I even sighed without thinking about it, just as I often did when I was ready for a nap. Oh, good boy, Toby, Mona said. Don't move, Granddad, Tyler said. Good boy, Toby. Good lie still. She was happy. I was a good dog. I wagged the very tip of my tail, just so she knew I heard her. I knew what lie still meant now. Mona came to the bed and stroked her hand along my back, telling me over and over that I was a good boy and doing a good lie still. Tyler came and pet me too, which was nice. 2 hands rubbing my back made me wiggle with delight, but then I remembered that lie still meant pretend napping, and I forced myself to be quiet. Mona, you did it. He's got it. You're a great dog trainer. He picked up his hand from my back, reached to put it down my head again, but Mona's hand was already there. Tyler left his hand on Mona's. They both stopped petting me until I picked up my head and looked at them with a bit of reproach in my eyes. Wasn't I doing good lie still? Wasn't this what they wanted? They remembered then and pet some more. Sometimes people just need reminding. Okay, guys, and we have 2 chapters left, right? So go check Dojo for your work for the day.